On this episode, we're talking about winning your summer with your family. Here we go.
You're listening to the Dudes and Dads Podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMott and Andy Lehman.
Welcome, guys, back to the Dudes and Dads Podcast. It's Andy
And Joel.
and Joel, the man with more plans than any man can stand.
Wow.
I'm not even sure what that's supposed to mean.
More plans than, well, I can barely stand the plans that I have. And actually, we're talking about plans, Andy. So sometimes, faithful listener, if you would draw near for a moment. Sometimes I have this idea when it comes to this show of like, hey, there's things I just want to talk to Andy about that I would talk to Andy about no matter what. I'd come over, I'd lay down on his couch, he'd play some smooth jazz in the background, and I would just share life with him. Like, that's the thing that could happen. Or it might be around a bonfire, which smooth jazz is involved either way. And so sometimes it's just kind of like, Andy, I've got some things that I'd like to talk about with you. I'd just like you to hear, and then maybe we can engage in some conversation about that. And then I think to myself, you know what's a great place?
Here.
Oh, yes.
Got some music for you. Does that work?
I could share a lot of things with you to
like
this
this. All right.
music.
All right.
Yeah. I was not anticipating. You were really ready for that, and I'm really just so impressed. I asked what it is.
More buttons.
I'm so many buttons. But I just thought to myself, like, hey, we could just have this conversation on the podcast, and it might be helpful for some people. Maybe just, I don't know if we're going to solve any real mysteries, real life dilemmas, but at the same time, it might just get us thinking about some things. Because, Andy, I think we both feel this way. Every spring, as things are wrapping up, as we're transitioning out of the icy fog of living in north central Indiana, because, I mean, it could have.
Right.
Last year, as you unfortunately reminded me, it snowed this week last year.
It did. It's my wife's birthday, so it snowed on my wife's birthday, so it's burnt in my head.
Oh, my gosh. And so we don't ever get our hopes up until, probably the 1st of June.
Or the end of July.
Yeah, that's right. Blizzards could come at any time. But as we're transitioning out of these spring months, and quite honestly, transitioning out of more and more so transitioning out of kind of all the COVID stuff,
right?
And more things are opening up, and we've got a little more flexibility in what we're doing, and a general sense of being more hopeful. Things get rolling, and we're like, the summer's just around the corner, and Andy, the summer for us is full of things,
Very, very full of things,
and what I want to ask is, first of all, I want to ask you. I'm putting you on the spot. This would be another one of these great things to have our wives here. By the way, I just also thought that too, because they might have some different responses.
We could call them.
We could. Your wife was in the studio just a little bit, and the look on her face did not say to me, I'm
ready to record.
I'm ready to record. It said, I need to get these kiddos out of here before.
She was done with her work day, ready to go home.
Yeah, you know that. I hope I didn't offend her when I said that she looked like the mom of teenagers.
No, I think she knew what you meant. That you were just she had the look of tiredness.
Right. I had like you've done real
right.
things today. Yes, absolutely. No, so I'm sorry, Julie. But you know, I just wonder, Andy, if you, as you're thinking about it, do you, when you're looking at going into the summer, and you know we're kind of doing this, you know, summer starts for us really that last week in May, maybe, really?
Well, and even for us, it kind of starts before that because we have 4-H animals that we start getting in.
That's right.
February, March.
Right, so you've already been
we've already been
pre-gaming it.
Right, yeah. So pre-summer traditions.
Yes. So what, like when you're thinking about this summer, like if you could say what your goal is for this summer, like as a family, like what are you trying to accomplish? What are there some things that you want to say if you're looking back at the end of August, for instance, and you're looking back and you're saying, did we have a good summer? what's kind of the litmus test, the ruler stick by which you would judge that?
Sure. So I think for me, one of the things that I would say was if it felt like we had a lot of time as a family, like if our family connected. So I know that we're super busy where we're running from thing to thing to thing. You know, we're in, I think, three or four different 4-H clubs. And
That sounds right.
and so and so because we're in that, we're doing a lot of things throughout July. I mean, that stuff all ends in July, but up until that point, we're super busy. Every week we have at least 1 or 2 meetings every other week.
Yeah.
And so I think, and then also doing some vacation stuff this year and some other traveling. And so for me, if I look back at the end of the summer and I say I felt like I've got a lot of good quality time with my family, and so for me, that's kind of, I guess, winning that summer. But I would also say that even though the fair stuff is pretty like routine for us, there's times that I can still be spending with my kids, like doing those things, or as I'm waiting for something, you're driving to them, having good conversations.
Yeah, I think I would echo something similar to that. This is, I think, part of my struggle. What I'm feeling right now, and tell me how you experience this, but what I'm starting to experience is I have my 2 oldest boys, Aaron, who's 11 and a half, Josiah, who just turned 10, are starting to diverge in their interests a bit.
Yeah, that's tough.
So, like, if sometimes, Andy, I wish, like, if I could have all 4 of my kids like exactly the same things, like overlap, like that would be one thing. But now, as my boys are getting older, and I'm about ready to, you've already gone through this journey. I've entered it. I'm about ready to have my first middle schooler.
Yep.
Gosh,
I'm about to have 3 of them.
Shut your mouth. It's just wow. I'm seeing Aaron kind of develop his own passions and likes, and Josiah is kind of starting to figure out some things, and they don't overlap as much. And then it's like, well, when it comes to summer, how do I make sure that, like, I'm meeting my kids where they are, and what they're interested in, helping facilitate that. And I just wrote down the list like this summer. So one of the things that we've done, for a variety of reasons, and with some hesitation, I think, is that Aaron is playing travel baseball, and so that takes us all over the northern
hemisphere.
Well, it feels like it. From Indianapolis, the northern half of the state of Indiana. So there's some decent travel. We've got a couple of weekend tournaments that are in Indy and all of that. Overnight stays, things of that nature. And it's like, okay, that's a whole new thing.
Sure.
We've got Matthew and Josiah have soccer for like 6 weeks, like a 6-week thing starting next week. So that pushes us right up into June.
Sure.
Then the 4-H clubs, fishing and shooting sports for us. We've got there's a conference that our family is attending 4th of July weekend. And I've made a promise to some of our you as listeners will remember, if you're a faithful listener, right? We've had the conversation around this thing that I'm doing with my kiddos, like the spring or summer after they turn 10 years old, they get to plan kind of a short little trip. It's all just me and them. They get to decide. Well, Aaron's thing has been delayed now a year and a half, and so he knows what he wants to do. It's just going to be some travel involved in that. And then Josiah has identified what he wants to do, pretty close, more travel in that. So just trying to follow through on things that I've said to them. So I guess I'm feeling like I'm looking at all these things, just like I literally have them written on a list in front of me, and I'm just saying to myself, I think we can get them all accomplished, but is that the goal? Is just, getting those things done
Is that your end goal? Is
Right.
to be completed?
Because I want to be able to look at the end of the summer, just like you said, and say, man, we connected well. And because by the way, as I'm doing some of these things, like the individual things with the boys, that means there's 2 other kids at home with Jackie that Jackie has to figure out all the logistics with them. So, which brings me to my next point. I am looking to hire a live-in nanny if anyone is interested. Just can take my kids everywhere and I don't have to worry about it. So, I guess that's what I'm thinking about, Andy, these days is, as we're going on this show, we have talked about being intentional with our plan making, setting goals and things like that. And kind of even looking at the end, kind of transporting ourselves to the future and saying, okay, looking back, like, hey, end of August, when we look back at what the summer that was, what do we want to be able to say about it? I think that's a good practice. I too want to be able to say that, man, we engaged intentionally with our kids. We had meaningful conversations. We took advantage of opportunities. And I think this summer, and this is a piece, I am trying to be intentional about some one-on-one time with the kiddos.
Yeah, that's good. I think.
What does that look like? Because I know you
Sure.
do that. What?
I try.
What? How? What do you do? What do you do?
So, I mean, it's been a while. So, for me to say this, that I do it, I don't do it well. I would say that for sure. But for us, we try to get, and it works out better lately if we've done like 2-on-1. So it'd be like my wife and me and one of the kids.
Yeah.
So we take them on special dates, do things like that. So recently we took Reagan because it's her birthday, and we went, or it was near her birthday, and we went out and ate lunch and basically said, hey, this is the day's yours, what do you want to do? So we went to a bunch of different places and just let her shop and do different fun things like that. So but we've not done a great job with it overall. It's harder as the kids get older too, right? So
boy, is it. Yeah,
because they each want something. It's harder to say, okay, we're just gonna go hang out at the park and make that your date. It's more of an intentional, like, what do you want to do?
Yes.
And make this your date. And so it's definitely harder to do that. But I would say, especially for it's still I'm getting tongue tied this morning. It's still important to do that intentionally.
Yeah.
For all of the kids, and they need it even more now, my older kids. So I'm gonna try and take a trip with them. At least I think Micah's taking a Boy Scout trip soon, and I'm gonna try to go on that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have to rearrange my vacation stuff a little bit. That way I can go with him, because I think that's super important to do, because kind of that one-on-one with him as he's getting older is really important, which I feel like I haven't spent as much time with my boys lately, just because they're doing their own thing, a lot of times, whereas the girls are a little, I don't want to say more demanding, because I don't mean it in a negative way, but they're just more in my face, like, hey, do this with me, whereas the boys, they're usually just
they're finding their own, finding their own groove, finding their own thing. They're off somewhere doing it, and I'm you start to see that, like, yeah, as you're. So I think in adolescent studies we talk about individuation, and there this distance that can happen as they're trying to identify, develop their own identity and all of that. And in the midst of that, we're trying to say, like, no, I want to build a relationship with you. Don't keep me at a distance. I'm trying. Can't you see that I'm trying? And yeah, and that's the thing of I don't know, when summers come along, and for us, I mean, here in the Midwest, it's like we've got maybe 3 months, three months of of good weather, of opportunity to to do some unique things, do different things. We want to make the most of it. I don't. Maybe people out in Southern California are just like, hey, we
always have this.
We always have this time. We always have these opportunities. I don't know. But yeah, it feels like the clock is ticking a little bit, and I just want to, we want to make the most out of it, and we want to be able to say, okay, number one, gonna have meaningful connection. We're gonna be intentional about creating that kind of space. Number two, we want to be able to give all the kids their own. I don't know, just their own. Because I'm feeling like this need to like try to I'm not sure how I would say it, like validate their individuality. If that sounds like I'm being like a hippie or something. I want to validate your individuality, but recognize they have their own unique. They have their own unique interests. You know, some are similar, and I don't know it, and with also the realization of like I feel like I understand the needs of some of my kids better than others. Like that's the other thing.
Sure.
So when we're trying to,
and I think that that's tough too, because obviously we're probably more like some of our kids than our other kids are, and so by nature we kind of gravitate to one, and so I think it's important to make sure that you're keeping all of your options open and making sure that you are spending just as much time with the one kid as you are with the other one, because it's one of those things that they're going to pick up on those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
They sure do.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we want to hear your feedback on this. So if you want to give us a call right now, 574-213-8702, 574-213-8702 is our phone number, our voicemail phone number, or feedback at Dudes and Dads Podcast. We would love to hear from you and see what you think about this topic. So Joel, how are you going to continue making this summer and win your summer?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, we live and die by the calendar. When it comes down to it, it's like, well, okay, what have I put down on the calendar and marked out?
Yeah.
There are already some, with my job and other things like that, there's some conference travel that's coming up. There's also like some speaking gig. There's some coaching things that I'm doing, all of that, all of which are things that I enjoy. I want to have my family stuff down first on the calendar before I'm filling in the other. And it's like my big challenge, I think my goal this summer is to not give my family the leftover of the time, but to instead say, just as I would with any other priority, to say, nope, they go on the calendar first and everything else fills in around it.
Ding, ding, ding. I think that you nailed it right on the head there. I think that's
Andy, you're so kind.
Soundbite there. No, I think it's important to keep our families first, and your family is going to pick up on those things that if you're not putting them first, they're going to know that there are other things, that dad's doing work that's more important. And obviously, that you have those things that you have to do because you're getting paid. You have to do some things to live. But your family's going to pick up on those things where you're putting those priorities other places and not putting them first. So I think what you're saying there is key. Fill your calendar in with your family spots and then work around it. And, and that's tough because for me, I'm already feeling like anxious about this summer because I'm feeling like I don't have time to do the things that I need to do, let alone, things that I want to do, just because we've got all of these other things that are on the calendar.
Well, and you and I have even talked about like trying to do like personal retreat or time for self or like, for spiritual renewal or things like that. I will say that I don't anticipate the summer months being that for me. Like,
have you scheduled your retreat at?
Oh, son of a gun, Andy. We should just call right now. Just call.
Get him on the phone.
I'm sorry, Chuck. Your son made me call you.
He'd be up. He's up.
Yeah.
So you were just saying that you don't anticipate.
Well, it's like
this being that restful for you, the summer being restful for you,
right? And because to be quite honest with you, this was my other cross thought. I feel like I have a select number of summers, and I'm sure you feel even more this way. Of like the clock is ticking on the number of summers we have left to have our kids with us and doing things. I was trying to think, Andy, see if you can remember when you stopped doing things like summer events, summer trips, things like that with your parents. Like, what age were you?
I don't know for sure. I mean, I know that we would do a lot of different family camps and things like that, and there have been times. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, it might have been 17 or 18. I mean, like
Yeah.
maybe like I never was like, nope, I don't want to go with you.
Right.
Like we always still did things together as a family.
Yeah.
So I think for me it was later, like after I went to college and things like that.
Yeah.
And I came home and worked and did other stuff.
Right. I mean, obviously, as soon as you start college, your summer is over forever. Isn't it? That's such an optimistic.
I'm not even kidding. This is my dad that just called.
Chuck Lehman, you're calling in? Oh, that's fantastic.
If we could only pipe him in.
Gosh, we should. You should answer. Should answer. Just put him through. Put him through. Line. Gosh, wouldn't that be great?
I would.
Oh, Chuck. God bless you.
He threw us off.
We're running a really tight ship here. Just people calling in at random. So good. But yeah, I'm thinking, because it's like, okay, at some point, my kids aren't going to maybe be as free to do things either. So, that's a reality. I mean, and parents, if you haven't thought about that, there will come a time where the summer vacation, the summer trip, the special summer events, that sort of thing, you're less likely to be able to have your kids around for those things. So, yeah, I just, I don't know, this summer above all summers. And maybe it's possible, Andy, that because last summer was such a giant dumpster fire of,
right.
of everything.
And I think that has something to do with it, too.
Feel pressure.
Right, because we didn't get to do a whole lot. I mean, we
Yeah.
still took a few, like, vacation-y things.
We went to the Upper Peninsula, and that's
right.
You know what COVID-19 brought was a series of fake history installments. That's really what came out of that. Which I have my next fake history. I'm so excited, so excited about and I'm going to do what you told me to do. I'm going to get a separate social media fake history. I'm gonna do a fake history. You heard it here, guys. You're getting the preview here as faithful listeners. It's going to have its own social media platform, the fake history, and we're gonna do some things. But I came up with my first one today, and I'm very excited to share it. So anyway,
I can't wait. You're rusty, so I can't wait.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you noticed, I had people while I was down in Florida on the spring break trip with the kiddos
looking for it.
Yeah, they're like, "What are you doing? Relaxing?" I'm like, "I'm trying," but you're
not letting me.
You're demanding that I dance for you with my fake history installments. So no fake history out of Florida this time.
Right, but I think you hit something on the head there, Joel, about what you said about last year not being able to, with COVID and everything, because I think we were it was just different this last year because most of the year we were stuck home. I know a good chunk of the year we were either at home quarantined or things weren't open, so there wasn't a lot to do. We did end up taking a trip to Florida this last year, and we did some other trips along with that, but it just was different. It wasn't the same, but I think because we spent so much time with family, those looked just a little bit different anyways.
Yeah.
So maybe there is different, more expectations now because things are starting to open up and they're starting to be, a little bit, air quotes, back to normal. And so maybe now we're just anticipating something a little bit different.
Yeah. And, I want to have realistic goals, realistic expectations, but I am hopeful. So I think as we're moving forward, as Andy mentioned, we would love to hear from you guys, like what you guys are thinking about doing this summer, kind of what intentionality you're bringing to it. Maybe you're getting creative with what you're doing. I will say that whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm limiting my car time with my children because we did that Florida trip, and it's like we broke it into two legs. Driving down there, we're down toward Orlando, so it was like 17 hours, and I don't know about you, Andy, but I've got my how shall I say? I've got my limits on having a full minivan with all those kiddos. So we're gonna I think if I stay within 6 hours of travel time in a vehicle, I'll be okay.
All right, guys, we do want to hear from you, though. Again, that number is 574-213-8702, 574-213-8702, or you can always email us feedback at dudesanddadspodcast.com. We love to hear from you, our listeners. So hit us up. Let us know what you think. What's your summer plans? How are you going to win your summer plans to make your family important?
So, Andy, I think we should just mark it and say that when we do an episode in August, we'll do like a
recap of the summer.
Recap. Like we can take clips from this show
and play them back.
And say, did we?
Sure.
It's like we've created an audio time capsule, really. It's a time capsule of a personal accountability. Where we'll be able to hear our own voices, say the things that we said we were going to do, and then we have to look deep within ourselves to say, are we people of integrity?
Did we do that?
Did we
complete this job?
Did we do
completely?
it? And were we present for it? Were we all in? Were we intentional? But regardless of what we are doing as individual families this summer, Andy, I think a thing on the list that has to be pretty high up is as regularly as possible, the DeMott Lehman bonfire experience.
Absolutely.
If I don't smell like campfire smoke, at least on a semi-regular basis this summer,
right.
We failed.
Yeah,
we have failed, and that's really what. Forget all other family interactions. If we accomplish some good bonfires this summer, I will consider it.
Check mark in the win.
Check mark in the win. And guys, maybe that's another thing too. Like, is there another family or some friends that you have been wanting to get together with? Obviously, with the COVID thing, that's been hard. But maybe there's some people you can reconnect with that would just be really, really great. Maybe that could be part of your summer goals. Like, put people down on the calendar. Call them now. Shoot them an email. Shoot them a text and say, hey, it's been forever since we have connected. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So Andy and I are doing that right now. Maybe, Andy, other people
should come to our studio and we can connect.
No, I was going to say other people will show up at your house for a bonfire.
I'm cool with that too.
So please reach out to us ahead of time, because we need to vet you before you can officially come to the Lehman farm. But maybe this is an opportunity for reconnection and just better sense of community this summer. Which would be awesome. So. Guys, thank you for listening to me process my, I'm just trying to get at this thing of like, what do I want this summer to be? How can I win it? And it just ultimately comes down to, as so many other things, having a discipline to it, being intentional, putting things down on the calendar, making it a first level priority. And just like not over, and I know I say this, but it's like not overscheduling ourselves, and just being realistic with the time that we have. Everybody's got 24 hours in the day, Andy.
Right. And
some people apparently do
it better.
Yeah, I don't know. They manage it better, and I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get at that level. So I don't know. Maybe some of y'all can help me with that. Maybe you got some further insights. We'd love to hear from you guys, as always. Thanks for chiming in and for tuning in this time. And we've got some other good guests coming up. We might have some return guests that we want on, and maybe that's the other thing, Andy. I don't know if we've asked this for a while. If people have got episode ideas, or maybe they have somebody who, like, you need to have this person on.
We'd love to hear that feedback at Dudes and Dads Podcast. Let us know. Guys, we would also like to thank our Patreon supporters. This podcast does cost money to produce, and we do appreciate every little bit that our Patreon supporters help out with. And if you're not familiar with Patreon, you basically sign up, pay a monthly fee. There's a couple different levels, and you get different things based on those levels. We'll give you a mention in the show or back scenes.
And basically, you're supporting my gummy bear addiction. I just want to be very...
Liar.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Your kids' other more less chewy and delicious things, but nevertheless important things to the show.
Right.
Our server costs and other technology things, and and I will say, I mean, the generator that we have to use to run these lights, that gas ain't free. So.
But no, we do appreciate that. If you'd like to help out, dudesanddadspodcast.com/support. And Joel, it's been another great episode.
It has.
We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Share this episode. Share our podcast with people that you know.
And like it. Leave comments. Give some reviews. Help other people find the show. We appreciate that as well. So until next time, our good and faithful listeners, we wish you grace
and peace.